All right, for more on this, let's welcome in former White House Deputy National Security Advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney and CEO of the DC International Advisory, Stephen Yates, and retired IDF Lieutenant Colonel and former IDF spokesperson, Jonathan Conricus. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Lieutenant Colonel, I'll come to you first. Israel is expected to carry out a retaliation strike. We've heard it say that they're not going to hold back, in response to that attack. President Biden, though, has been warning Bibi and other G7 leaders say that they want the response to be proportional. What does proportional mean in response to the biggest missile barrage on a country in modern history?
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me. I don't know. I actually haven't heard the president say proportional, but I've heard other targeting advice from the president and other very important American officials elected and appointed. And, I know that the intel cooperation on the military level between Israeli forces and U.S. CENTCOM is absolutely excellent. I know that we trust each other and we share intel, we share assessments. And I think that at the military level, there's very good relations. At the political level, it appears to be in need of some oiling and some maintenance on both sides of the Atlantic, but I'll leave that for people with higher pay grade. And I'll just say this. I think that it's just a matter of time before Israel retaliates. It's not an if, but a when, and how big and how strong and how powerful and how effectful. I think that Israel has the capabilities. And frankly, I don't think that we will ever have such a good opportunity to strike Iranian strategic facilities as we have now. And there's lots of targets that can be struck, proper military targets, dual purpose economic and military regime targets, and of course, about 15 military nuclear targets that are very, very important for the future of the Middle East and indeed for the world.
Indeed. Well, Stephen, this election season is incredibly important for Israel in the wider Middle East conflict. While Biden called for Israel to not strike Iran's nuclear sites, former President Donald Trump called for the opposite during his town hall. Stephen, based upon your experience in the White House, what are the stakes if Kamala Harris is actually elected?
Well, really, the stakes couldn't be higher, and the issues couldn't be more fundamental. I mean, it really begins with the basic notion of what is an alliance in the minds of the people who contend to be the president of the United States. I mean, we're a year out from a treaty ally, a reliable treaty ally of the United States, having been brutally attacked. There are still hostages that are being held, not just Israelis, but others too. And the words coming out of our current White House and the nominee of a major party in the United States and major allies in Europe are to threaten to withhold military support, urge caution and proportionality. I mean, there is nothing that I could even conceive of that's close to this. But after 9/11, we had 3,000 or so American casualties. And we might have had a lot of debates in our country in the years that followed about insurgencies and things going on too long. But in the immediate aftermath, for years, Americans were in a bipartisan way unified that this was supposedly the good war and that we built a coalition, and the coalition stood by us, not in a proportional response, but in one that reflected that this cannot ever happen again. And I think that that is where the Israelis are now. I don't speak for them. I think that they are perfectly capable of speaking for themselves, but that's how I think the strategic stakes can be defined. With Donald Trump, it was peace through strength, Abraham Accords, maximum pressure on Iran, and an alternative path to peace and prosperity with allies that were like-minded, and it was working. And this is just a terrible, tragic turn that never had to happen.
Yeah, it's the hypocrisy of the wider world when it comes to Israel compared to any other country is extraordinary. But we have less than a minute left. Jonathan, I just want to quickly ask you, tomorrow, October 7, horrifying day for people to remember what happened on that fateful day a year ago. Let's quickly talk about the IDF's military tactics a year on and the heightened security that there might be tomorrow.
Yeah, there's heightened security all over the country at the strategic level, missile defense, of all kinds across different theaters: Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Gaza, and Iran. And then there's heightened security on the ground against terrorist attacks. And as you updated, there's been a terrorist attack today in Beersheba, the largest city in the southern part of Israel, in the Negev desert. One confirmed Israeli civilian killed, and waiting for other reports. And what really Israel is doing is actually shifting while defending, but really shifting to a stronger offensive and really dealing blow after blow to Hezbollah in Lebanon and keeping the pressure on Hamas in Gaza. In short, Hamas is down, but not out yet. We still have to get our hostages home, 101 Israelis in Hamas captivity, sadly, for a year. And that still has to be done by Israel. But I think over the last few weeks, good progress has been made. And I think that the week of the 7th of October will be categorized by an Israeli retaliation against Iran, and hopefully the beginning of a new Middle East and a new equation that will hopefully bring about stability by force and strength.
If there's one country that can bring a new Middle East, it is Israel. So Stephen Yates, Jonathan Conricus, thank you both so much for your time today.